Hey everybody, welcome back to the Midwest.motogirl podcast. Gosh, it really feels like a long time since I've recorded a podcast, and I guess it kind of has been because it's been a couple of weeks, but life has been just super busy, like busy. I've been working on building out an enclosed trailer so that I can sleep in it and haul my bikes and have storage and electrical and all of that inside this trailer. And it is taking me way more time than what I thought that it would. I thought like, okay, I'll be done with this like a couple of days, like maybe like a couple of weekends. No, I feel like I've been working on this trailer for months, and I haven't been working on it every single day for months. If I had been, I would be done by now. But I spent a lot of time back in March trying to get it all ready to go. Then we had an ice storm, so I wasn't able to make it down to Oklahoma to race. And I was like, okay, well, I've got time now. So I kind of put that on the back burner and went back to my home remodel that's been going on for 2 years now. And now motorcycle season is here and race season is here. So I've just been going nonstop, trying to get my trailer finished, trying to get bikes ready to race. And I'm just like full steam ahead. There's tons of weekends this summer that are going to be completely occupied by motorcycle racing and track days. And I couldn't be more excited, but it also means that there's a lot of work in front of me to make sure that I have everything ready to go and that all my bikes are in tip-top shape and getting the attention that they need between race weekends. All of those other projects and motorcycle prep and trailer prep, it's taken away from me being able to record a new podcast episode for the last few weeks. But I'm back. I'm here. I mentioned that there's a ton of race weekends coming up this summer that I'm excited and just full steam ahead for. So I guess speaking race weekends, last weekend was race 1 with the Central Road Racing Association, or CRA is what a lot of people call it. And they're based out of Brainerd, Minnesota. They go to Brainerd International Raceway. And kind of what's exciting this year is that they're actually going to come to my home track in Hastings, Nebraska for their August event. So there'll be 4 weekends in Brainerd and then 1 in Hastings for their whole series. I've had a lot of people asking me details about how Brainerd was, what the track was like, how the race weekend was. So let's just dive right in. That's what today's episode is going to be. Let's do a weekend race recap of round 1 with the CRA. So most of you already know, my regular listeners know that I'm based in Nebraska. If you're new to the podcast, welcome. I'm glad you're here. I'm based out of Nebraska. So I drove up to Brainerd, Minnesota from my home base in eastern Nebraska, and it took me about 8 hours to get up there. I made the mistake of following Google Maps GPS and saying, hey, I'm going to take the fastest route. And I'm sure that it probably was the fastest route, but it definitely did not feel that way. And after my trip up there, I have decided I don't think I'm going to be using GPS again anytime soon. So I used to travel the old-fashioned way with an atlas, and I remember being in college, and I was going to school in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. So it was a 14-hour drive to get up there, and there was no interstate. So I would take the interstate up through Minneapolis, and then from there it was all like 2-lane state highways to get up to school in northern Michigan. And I had like a 90s Ford pickup. It did not have GPS. Smartphones were like just becoming a thing. There was no electronics on hardly anything, definitely not on my truck, definitely not on my cell phone when I first started college. And so I had an old-fashioned atlas, and I would basically keep the atlas on the center console next to me, and I kind of would look at it before I left, so like, okay, I know this is how to get to Minneapolis, and then from there, periodically, I would look at the atlas to be like, okay, I need to catch this highway, or I need to turn here, those kinds of things. And now that I have a newer pickup that has a screen in it and it connects to my smartphone and all of those things, it's just so easy to turn on Google Maps and have it talk to me through the speakers in my truck and say, turn here, go this way. But there was lots of instances where Google Maps said, turn left, and I was on a bridge. Where do you want me to turn left at? I'm on a bridge. Or it would say, take a right on Winchester Street. And I would get to where it wanted me to take a right at, and there's no sign that says Winchester Street. It's labeled what the highway number is, but I got so tired of it telling me to go right and left on unmarked streets. And if you're watching the screen in my vehicle to see where the GPS takes me, then I wasn't watching the road where I was going, and I wasn't reading the highway signs. And I guess this is just my old soul talking here, but I would much rather have a GPS that tells me go north on State Highway 51 for 16 miles, then turn east onto State Highway 16. I don't know, I'm just making these all up. But I would much rather have a GPS that tells me north, south, east, and west, and tells me highway and interstate numbers, not names of streets in towns as you're passing through. So anyways, my 8-hour trip up there, it felt like an eternity. I was on 2-lane highways the whole way. I think that it probably was the fastest route. It bypassed Minneapolis, which was nice, especially since I would have hit Minneapolis like at rush hour. But there was a lot of like slow moving traffic, like agricultural equipment and semis hauling wide loads and things like that. So once you got behind somebody like that, it was very difficult to pass on some of these 2-lane highways. And again, you went through like a lot of small towns. So you're cruising down the highway at 65 miles an hour. You come through a town and now you're going 25 miles an hour. But anyways, so that was my trip up. Overall, it was very smooth, no issues. I just don't think that I will be traveling that route again to get up to Brainerd. I think that I will be going a little bit longer direction, go through Des Moines and up through Minneapolis, which GPS says it's like 30 minutes longer, but it's all interstate driving, and it sounds like a way better idea. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how I feel in a few weeks when I go back. My new trailer pulled really nice. Honestly, it pulled like a dream. Previously, I had a bigger toy hauler, and that trailer towed really nicely as well, but it was double the size of the enclosed trailer that I have now, and so you would feel that it was just much bigger, and so it's nice to have something smaller. But so I got up there on Thursday afternoon or Thursday evening, got my trailer unloaded and everything all set up for practice on Friday. And when I got my bike out of the trailer, I noticed that there was like a puddle of fork oil under it. I'm thankful that it was not on the front brake side. It was the left fork, so there's no brake on that side of the front wheel. But I was kind of concerned about that, and I had noticed in the past, like last riding season, my lower fork bolt, that's like your drain, it would weep a little bit, but it was never anything bad, and this was like a puddle. So it turns out I have a leaking fork seal. I didn't know that I had a leaking fork seal. I have hauled my bike a handful of times here recently, so I'm not sure if maybe I blew out the fork seal and because I had it strapped down too tight in the truck, or if maybe it's bouncing more in the trailer than what it did in my old trailer or something, and that caused something to happen. But I kept a pretty good eye on it throughout the weekend, and it was leaking a little bit throughout the weekend, but like nothing that affected me being able to ride it. But then when I got home, there was another puddle. So I thought, well, this is probably needs to be fixed before I continue to ride it that way. So currently my whole bike is torn down and fork seals are on order. They should be here tomorrow, and I will be doing fork seals on Friday morning before I go to the next track day. So that's fun and exciting. So practice on Friday, I got through tech with no issues. The tech guys all thought my bike looked pretty and great, and no issues there. I was kind of surprised that they have you push your bike like up onto like a stand that's like waist high. And I'm sure that they do that because it's easier for the tech inspectors to like see belly pans and down underneath of it to make sure that there's like no oil and everything's dry. But I could not get my bike up there by myself, and I could not get my bike back down by myself because those stands were not short people friendly. Thankfully, they helped me. Not a big deal. The one thing that was a little bit frustrating with Friday practice, so the CRA is all run by volunteers. And so at the Friday morning riders meeting, they announced that they were short on volunteer corner workers, and they would not be able to open the track until they got more volunteers. So we had paid for a whole day of practice on Friday, and the track didn't actually go hot until like probably 11 or 11:30. So we missed out on about half a day's worth of practice because they were short on volunteers, and that was a little bit frustrating because every other organization that I have raced with, the track time you pay for, you get. And I understand that their corner workers are volunteer, where some of the other organizations I've been with have paid corner workers or have a combination of paid and unpaid. Or some of the tracks that I've been at, they have lights in the corners, and they will have a light in the corner in lieu of a corner worker. Obviously, you don't want to do that on every single corner, but it does help out when you're short on workers. So that was a little bit frustrating, but once we got out on the track is like really fast. It's really flowy. And honestly, I'm the biggest thing that's holding me back. I know that my bike can go way faster. I know that my tires are capable of just hauling the mail into these corners and just throwing it in there. And my brain says no. So there was a lot of skill levels there. In the 300 class, there was people that were 20 seconds a lap faster than I was. Maybe not 20 seconds a lap faster than me. For sure 10 or 15 in the 300 class. But then you also had people that were 10 seconds a lap slower than me by the end of the weekend. So there was a lot of diversity there. But yeah, the track is really fast. It's really flowy. Their pit area, the paddock, was really nice. They had like a big tower, so you could go up to the top of this tower where race control is. And basically race control is on the second floor of the tower, and you can walk up to the top, and there's like a balcony with bleachers and stuff that you can look out, and you can see the entire track. The CRA does this short course at Brainerd, which is 2.5 miles, and the long course that AMA used to race a long time ago when they went up there included the drag strip, and the short course does not include the drag strip. So it was kind of cool to like see drag cars going down the drag strip as you're out on the track on a motorcycle at the same time. But yeah, the paddock area was set up pretty nicely. The facility overall, I would say, is pretty nice, with the exception of the bathroom and the shower facility. For as nice as the rest of the facility was, there's a lot to be desired with their bathroom and their shower facility. I'll just leave it at that. But yes, the track is fast, it's flowy. There's a couple of sections that are kind of technical, and then there's a lot of sections that are just like really fast, high speed. And corners 1 and 2 are very fast, high speed corners where you can leave the throttle wide open. You want to be 6th gear, just throttle pinned wide open. In practice on Friday, it was really, really hard for me to wrap my head around that and get comfortable doing that because I don't think I have ever done that on a motorcycle before. But once I kind of got comfortable, like tucking down and like, all right, use your legs to push the bike a little bit, stay tucked, like don't stick your knee out, just like tuck as big as you can and kind of like use your legs and your head to lean. Then that it started to feel a little bit more comfortable. And by the end of the weekend, it was no problem. I did learn though, so corner 13 is, a slower corner. I was taking that corner in like 3rd gear. And then you want to upshift as fast as you can into 6th gear and just be pinned. And I'm a really slow shifter. Whether it's upshifting or downshifting, I'm just kind of slow at it. And by the end of the weekend, all I could think to myself is like, gosh, I really wish I had a quick shifter. So that's on my wish list. I'm hoping that I will be getting a quick shifter before the next race weekend. Definitely before. Every single time that I went out on the track, my lap times got faster. At Friday practice, I kind of saw my lap times and I was like, wow, I suck. Like, I'm so slow. And then I was talking with one of the guys that was up there with me, and he was like, let's set a realistic goal. And he said, let's set a realistic goal of 2:05. He's like, that's 5 seconds from where you're at. Like, if you just keep pushing, like, you might be able to get there. I did not hit my goal of 2:05. Lap times by the end of the weekend, but I did hit a 2:06.017. So I got pretty close, and it started to feel like that 2:06 lap time. By the end of the weekend, those 2:06s were consistent. It wasn't like I ran one 2:06 lap and everything was 2:10s. Like, I was consistently getting faster, where every time I was out there on track, I would have multiple laps that were 1 or 2 seconds faster than the previous time I was out there on track. And I definitely realized that I think it's my eyesight that's holding me back from going faster, because I have a really, really hard time like looking up and looking out. And so like that was the biggest thing with that turns 1 and 2 that are wide open high speed corners, is I'm kind of like looking at the track, or I'm wanting to look at the track, And then I would get nervous thinking like, oh my God, I'm going way too fast. What happens when I crash? However, if I got my eyes up, so instead of looking at the asphalt, I was like looking more up at like the height of the corner station, then it felt a lot more comfortable. And so I definitely need to work on that a lot. I talked about that in a previous episode where I was out at Hastings and realized that my eyes are too low and I'm looking kind of at the ground instead of looking up. So I think that's the biggest thing that I'm going to be trying to work on this year or this season is getting my eyes up. Saturday, I ran 3 races. I was signed up for 300 classes only when I got up there. And after being out in Friday practice, I was just like, gosh, like I want to ride more. I want to ride more. And so I bumped up and I added 2 of the 400 classes. So I ran one of the 400 classes on Saturday and then one on Sunday. The way they had their schedule set up for this weekend was that they did all of the super stock races on Saturday. Then Superbike and GP classes were on Sunday, all 8-lap sprint races. And Saturday afternoon, they had what they call a trophy dash. And the trophy dash was basically a miniature endurance race that was 18 laps long. By the end of the weekend, I wish that I would have signed up for that third 400 class. It was another race on Sunday, so I would have ended up running 4 races on Sunday. But every time I went out on track over the weekend, I kept getting faster and I kept coming back thinking like, wow, that was awesome. Like, I want to go out there again. So I'm kind of wishing that I would have done that 4th race. But when it was time to sign up for it, I was also kind of like thinking about, all right, I'm going to run 4 races. It's supposed to be 90 degrees on Sunday. And then I'm going to have to drive home afterwards. Like, is that really what I want to do? Or should I just run the 3 and conserve some energy for the drive home? So I ended up just running the 3 races on Sunday, which was 2 300 class races, a super bike and a GP in the 300 class, and then one of the 400 races. I believe I ran the 400 super bike race, and then skipping the 400 GP race. Every time I went out on track, like I said, I got faster and I was having a good time. And like the last 2 races on Sunday, I came off the track feeling good. Like I had fun. I feel like I went fast. Like I feel like I'm improving. I had already mentioned that my eyes looking down and not looking up and out far enough is like a big factor, but I brake so early into corners. And I think that a lot of the early braking has to do with my eyes not being up far enough. And where I'm kind of like looking at the corner as I'm going into it instead of looking at the corner, scanning, and then looking up and out. I know that there's a lot of places on track that I could brake a lot later. I could probably grab an upshift and hold a higher gear for a little bit longer and then grab a downshift before going into the corner. So those are all things that I'm going to kind of play with the next couple of times that I'm up there. And I'm really hoping that by the end of the year I can get down into the 150s, whether that be a 158 or 155 or whatever it is, but somewhere in the 150s. And I think that it's doable. I just need to kind of get over this eyesight thing or work on this eyesight thing and figure out how to brake a lot later. And that's an issue that I have at Hastings as well, is I brake way early. Like as soon as I see that 5 board, I'm not even at the 5 board yet, that 5 board brake marker, and I'm already starting to roll off the throttle, or I'm already catching a downshift, because for whatever reason in my brain, I see those brake markers and I immediately go, oh shit, like, oh shit, there's a corner coming. I am gonna run off this edge of the corner and I'm going way too fast. And like, I wouldn't say that it's panic mode, but my brain immediately says, you're going too fast, you need to slow down, and you need to slow down now. So that's another thing that I know I need to work on. So let's talk about this trophy dash. So their trophy dash on Saturday afternoon, it's a miniature endurance race. And it's 18 laps versus a sprint race that they do is 8 laps. And so I was watching one of the sprint races prior to that trophy dash, and one of the other guys that was there racing with us, he was standing there next to me and he asked if I was doing the trophy dash. And I said, yeah, like I'm signed up for whatever I can run, I'm signed up for. And he was like, oh yeah, that's cool, blah, blah, blah. And so I asked him, like, okay, what should be my plan going into this trophy dash? And I was trying to think of, like, trying to ask him, like, what's the strategy here? But I could not think of the word strategy at that moment in time. And I don't even remember exactly how I worded it, but it didn't quite come out right. And he was like, kind of looked at me like I was crazy for a second. And I was like, well, like, am I trying to go into this trophy dash and, like, run as many laps as fast as I can, like a sprint race, and then maybe peter out at the end? Or do I want to run slower laps so that I can conserve energy and be a little bit more consistent? And he looked at me and said, you just want to try to survive. And at that moment in time, all I could think to myself was, like, gosh, I hope he's not serious. And turns out he was. And I was kind of, like, looking for something, I don't know, maybe a little bit more helpful. And I'm sure that he wasn't trying to be discouraging by any means, but just the way that it came out, I was like, oh gosh, okay, like, is he serious? Is he not serious? And so I went out there, and people that had been, like, flying past me, I noticed that they were going a lot slower. And so they were still passing me, but they weren't just, like, zooming by the way that they had been. And I was like, okay, he was serious about this. Just try to survive. The trophy dash, the top 3 winners in each class, they qualified for this special race on Sunday called the Framstead Cup. So he had explained, like, hey, you do want to turn a couple of fast laps because it will qualify you for this other race. And I didn't quite understand what that was until the riders meeting on Sunday morning, when they explained it more. But so he did say, like, you want to try and run some fast laps. But to be honest, I did not have the mental focus to do any fast laps. I was trying to conserve energy at the start of that trophy dash. And by the time that halfway marker came out, like the halfway flag, all I could think to myself was, when I saw that halfway indicator, was like, oh my gosh, are you serious? I still have a whole nother half of the race to do. And I tired out really quickly. But 18 laps is a lot. They had 300s, 400s, and supermotos all out at the same time for the trophy dash. So the other guys that I was racing with, they were on 400s. And they all lapped me, I think, 3 times. And so in the moment, I'm getting lapped, and I was like, oh, there they go, a second time. Oh, there they go, a third time. And I'm kind of like, feeling like, gosh, am I really going that slow that I got lapped 3 times? But after the fact, I was like, you know what? That's just 3 laps of this race that I don't have to finish, which is definitely not the way to think about it. But gosh, I was just so tired. I did not have the mental focus for that many laps. And so after about the halfway marker, when I started to lose my mental focus, then I kind of transitioned into this, like, survival mode type of mindset, where I kept just, like, saying to myself, like, all right, just be clean, be smooth, keep your eyes up, like, don't worry about going fast. And I was just trying to, like, remind myself, like, just run clean laps and finish the race. Like, don't crash because you're fatigued. And so it was definitely at the end, like, it was, okay, let's just survive and finish this race without crashing. And when you think about it, so in that race, my average lap time was, like, between 2:08 and 2:10 per lap. And so think about it. If you do a warm-up lap and a cool-down lap, and you were to run all 18 laps at, say, a 2:10 lap time, you're going to be riding for 45 minutes. That's a lot of time. And it was pretty warm. I think it was like 80 degrees that day. So you're going to be riding for 45 minutes at close to a race pace. It's very, very tiring. And so when I got back, I got off the bike and I was like, whoa, like, that was no joke. My legs are tired. And I told some of the guys that, yeah, like, this was hard. This was no joke. And the one guy looked at me and he was like, you run half marathons. He was like, how are your legs this tired? And, like, how are you this tired? Like, thinking that this is so hard. He was like, running for 2 hours is way harder than riding a motorcycle for 45 minutes. And I was just like, no, running for 2 hours is so much easier. And the reason that I say that is because when you're running, you don't have to think about anything if you don't want to. Like, you don't have to focus. And so just trying to ride and stay focused for that amount of time was a challenge in itself, not to mention like once your muscles start to fatigue. So that was a good experience. I'm glad that I did the trophy dash. I will definitely do another trophy dash, but it was also a learning that I'm out of shape. Like, I'm way out of motorcycle shape and need to get it together. So on Saturday, like I mentioned, I ran one 400 race and then one 300 race and then that trophy dash. And so in the 400 class, I got 4th place in the novice, which was kind of cool. I was not expecting to finish 4th place. I think there was maybe only 5 people in that race. So not great, but also not bad. And then the 300 class, I finished 6th out of 8 riders. And there was some very big lap time discrepancies in the novice class. I think the leader that won the race, she was running like maybe a 152 lap time. Like, she was moving. And then the 8th place person was running like a 215 or a 218 lap time. So like there was this huge range in there, and even though it was the 6th place out of 8, it kind of made me feel good because the 7th place person behind me was like 3 to 5 seconds behind me. And then the next person in front of me was like 2 seconds faster than me. So everybody was kind of spread out. And I was just I felt like I was kind of in the middle. Whereas when I do the Track Addicts GP races at the end of the track day, a lot of the people that are in the amateur class are significantly faster than me. So I'm just kind of out there riding by myself, and I'm always last. So it was kind of nice to, 1, not be last, and 2, see like, hey, like it's not like it was a close race for last place. Like, I am significantly faster than somebody else. And I feel like that's like maybe seems silly to say, or like sounds kind of bad. It's not meant in any sort of like negative way. Like I said, it feels nice to not be last. And then Sunday, I ran the 1 400 race and the 2 300 races. And I believe I got 5th place in the 400 race. So I did finish last in that race. Honestly, if I had a couple of more laps, I probably would have caught the 4th place person because we were pretty close. She's a gal that's come down to Hastings before and ridden, and she just got a 450 Supermoto, and they had Supermotos in that class. And so she's still kind of trying to learn that new bike. She's learning where she should be braking and where she should be shifting and all of those things. But it was fun to be able to race with her because even though she was on a faster bike, our lap times were fairly close. Then the 2 300 classes, to be honest, I don't know exactly how I finished. I know I got 6th place in one of them, and maybe it might have been 2 6th place finishes, maybe a 6th and a 7th. To be honest, I don't completely recall. I know that I did not finish last in either of those races, which I felt good about again. And the last race of the day, before I went out, I was very anxious. I was feeling pretty nervous. One of the guys in our pit could tell that I was anxious and nervous. And he looked at me and he goes, "Sid, have you ever crashed on the track before?" And I said, "No." And he goes, "Oh my gosh, let me tell you, crashing on the track is so much better than crashing on the street." He was like, "It's not a big deal. It's easy. You just slide a little bit." Like, basically, he was like, "You've got an airbag vest." So he's like, if you crash, you're going to slide a little bit, your airbag vest is going to deploy, and you're going to feel fine. And he's like, you're not even going to know that you crashed until you're sitting on the ground. And so I kind of had to laugh a little bit, and I was like, so is this telling me that I just need to go out there and send it? He's like, yeah, pretty much. Like, and he was like, think about it. What do you have to lose? Like, you already paid to be here. You've already raced the whole weekend. You've already spent your money. Like, just go out there and go as fast as you can. Like, don't worry about anything. Like, your tires are going to stick, and you can throw it in way faster than what you are. He was like, just go out there and try and push it. And so it kind of made me laugh a little bit, but I was like, he's right. Like, okay, so if I go out there and I crash, obviously I don't want to crash. Obviously I'm not going to try to crash, but like if I go out there and I'm trying to push it and get faster and that's what happens, well, what am I really out? I mean, yeah, the bike is going to be a little bit damaged and beat up. But I didn't crash and I'm still repairing my bike this week anyways. So it's like, well, I'm going to have to do it regardless. And like he mentioned, I had already spent the money to be there. Like I had already run all my races. I had already had paid for all my travel expenses. So, and that was just him trying to kind of like give me a pep talk about like, hey, don't be scared. Just go out there and ride. But it was kind of an interesting way to go about it. But that last race of the day, I definitely had some oh crap moments. Corner 12 is a sharp left-hand corner, like a 90-degree left-hand corner, at the back of a pretty fast section of the track. So you're going pretty fast. You're in fifth gear pinned, and you come up to this sharp left-hand corner where you've got to be on the brakes pretty hard, and grab 2 downshifts on a 300. And so one of the laps, I was really pushing it. I was trying really hard, and I got in there way too deep. And I was trying to downshift, ended up catching an upshift. So instead of going from 5th to 3rd, I went 5th up to 6th, saw that I was in 6th gear, went, oh shoot, I'm not slowing down. I got my 2 more downshifts, but by that point in time, I was pretty deep into the corner, and in my brain, I was just going, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. And as I'm going, oh shit, I didn't let the clutch out. I fell back into my old street riding ways from 11 years ago where I was scared and I'm on the brakes and have the clutch pulled in. And as soon as I realized that, I started yelling out loud at myself, like, let out the clutch. Like, you dummy, let out the clutch. And I'm not even kidding when I say I was calling myself a dummy, and because I know better than that. But just in that panic moment where I was like, shoot, I'm going to run off track. I'm in way too hot. What do? I just had the clutch in. And so I was able to, as soon as I let out the clutch, I was able to get the bike slowed down, and I ran way wide in that corner, but I stayed on the track, didn't run off into the grass. I was kind of, as I exited the corner, I was on the runoff a little bit, but overall, like, it was a pretty good save, especially for me. That's probably the closest I've come to crashing or running off track. So I guess now that I've experienced that, it's like, it's really not as scary as I keep thinking that it would be. I still don't want to run off the track, and I still don't want to crash. Like, I'm going to ride within my abilities rather than above my head. But that was kind of a good learning moment for me that, hey, like, stuff happens. And once I figured out to let the clutch out, I turned my head. I remembered what Gerald at Track Addicts is always telling us in these rider meetings that we used to have, about like, hey, you think you're in a corner too hot? Like, just turn your head. And in that, like, it clicked in my head. And so I turned my head, and as soon as I was able to turn my head, I got the bike turned. And so I guess I don't know what the conclusion on that is, but it was kind of not cool, like, but I mean, maybe calmed the nerves a little bit about, like, hey, you can go way deep into a corner. You can go into a corner way fast, and you're not going to run off track, and you're not going to crash. Like, you can still get the bike turned. Like, you can literally just turn your head and the bike is going to go. Gosh, what else about the weekend? There was a lot of jokes over the weekend. We had a lot of fun. I'm really thankful for the group of people that I go to the races with, and we all pit together. We all help each other. We cook dinner together. So I'm really thankful for that group because, like, they're, at the end of the day, like, they're awesome. They make the experience just fun, and they're all, like, legitimately want to see me get faster, and, like, we're all trying to help each other and, like, encourage each other. And so there was lots of times throughout the weekend where they were asking me, like, what they could help me with. They were saying, like, hey, let's look at a track map, like, draw out where you're braking and where you're shifting and things like that, like, on a track map, so that they could give me pointers. I had them kind of, like, explaining, like, hey, I was watching and I noticed you're taking this line try to take that line instead. It'll set you up better for the next corner. So there was a lot of like that kind of thing going on, which was really, really nice. That's what I need. Like, I am a visual learner. So I need to look at a track map, and I need somebody to draw me a picture of lines saying, hey, this is what line you're taking. Try this line instead, and literally just draw me a picture of it. And so that's what we did. And I feel like it was helpful. I'm really excited that there's more opportunities to go up to CRA this week or this summer, because I feel like I can just keep building off of the way that the season started up there. And I also learned some other things that weren't motorcycle, or I guess weren't track related, weren't riding related. I learned a trick about hooking up your trailer. We unhooked my truck on Saturday morning. One of the guys needed to take my truck and go into town for something. And so I'm unhooking my truck from the trailer, and the first thing that I did was take the safety chains off. So I usually, like when I unhook, I would take the safety chains off, unplug my 7-pin, and then the last thing that I would do is raise the jack and lift like the coupler of the trailer off of the trailer hitch. And so I was doing that, and he was like, hey, do you want to know a trick? He was like, you should do this in the opposite order. Like, leave your safety chains attached until the end, until like take those off last. Because then if you're parked on an incline, your trailer shifts, anything happens, your trailer's not just going to roll away. Your safety chains are still attached. I'm like, oh, that's a good idea. And then he was explaining like, hey, the same thing when you hook up your trailer. Hook up the safety chains first, then hook the trailer to the truck, and it could prevent a really bad situation where your trailer rolls down a hill or something. And I'd never even thought about it that way. So that was kind of fun to learn. And then Saturday night, we did tires. So Scott, he did a great job. He changed 10 sets of tires for everybody in our pit, which was fantastic and really nice of him. As I was putting my rear wheel back on, I asked one of the other guys, like, hey, do you think my chain tension is okay? Because I always just kind of go by feel. And the chain tension that I run at the track is usually a little bit looser than what I run on the street. And it was kind of like, I checked my chain tension and it felt like it was maybe a little bit borderline, whether it was going to be too tight or not. And so I just asked him like, hey, what do you think here? And so I'm loosening up my chain adjusters and trying to adjust the chain tension and everything. And he goes, hey, like, here's a trick. Put a screwdriver in your sprocket and then roll the wheel forward so that it tightens everything up. And he was like, that will take the extra slack out of your chain to keep your chain tensioners tight when you're loosening them. And that's like a fantastic tip. I've never even thought about that before. But I do remember, like, on my Z125, I used to always run into the issue that I'd be adjusting my chain and the chain tensioners were basically like about to fall out. I have not experienced that so much on my Yamaha R3, but like they do get loose where they're kind of just like loose. And I don't know, maybe I'm better at adjusting a chain now than I was 5 years ago when I got my Z125. But anyway, so like that was kind of a cool tip. What else about the weekend? Yeah, I mean, overall it was a great weekend. I feel like I'm like full steam ahead. Like, I'm so invested in this race season and I'm excited about it. I'm looking forward to it. I've said this multiple times before to friends and to family, and I don't know if I've said this on the podcast or not, but race weekends are legitimately like the best weekends of my life. I feel like I'm just like living a dream when I'm racing a motorcycle. And 5 years ago, I never would have expected or thought that I would be traveling to different tracks, that I would be racing this as often as I'm going to be this year. I think last year I only ended up making it to 2 or 3 races, but still just being able to go to 2 or 3 races at different tracks was amazing. And the same thing the year before, I went to 3 different tracks. And like I said, 5 years ago, I never would have expected that I would be racing at different tracks, heck, racing a motorcycle in general, that I would have this supportive and helpful motorcycle community with all these people that want to help me and they want to see me be faster and like they genuinely care. So like that's all just super cool, and I kind of feel like it's almost like I'm floating on cloud nine sometimes. And so whenever I come home from a race weekend, I'm basically just like living off of this like adrenaline and this high from the weekend for a couple of days. Sunday, my last race was the second to the last race of the day. So it was like 5:30 probably when I left the track. And then it was an 8.5 hour drive home. Most of us decided that we were going to stop and like eat together. So we stopped to eat somewhere, and it took way longer than we thought. So we killed at least an hour, maybe more than that, trying to eat a quick dinner. And I remember leaving the restaurant or like the food stop, and it was like 7:45 on Sunday night. I was still like at least 60 miles north of the Twin Cities, maybe 90 miles north of the Twin Cities. And I went, like, kind of had this, like, crap, like, I'm going to be driving all night. I don't drink very much caffeine, so I ended up drinking what they call a bubbler. It's like a flavored seltzer water, but it has caffeine in it. And so I drank one of those at, like, 10:30 after I had passed the Twin Cities. And that kept me awake for the whole entire rest of the drive. Drank that drink. Turned on some like good tunes. Like I was definitely jamming to like some Miley Cyrus and Taylor Swift and just like belting it out. Like kept my mind occupied for the whole rest of the drive. And I got home at 3:20 in the morning on Monday morning, and then proceeded to get up and for work at 6:45 on Monday. Went to work all day, and then I got home from work and thought, oh, I'm going to get to bed early tonight. And pretty soon I'm working on bikes and doing tires and unloading the trailer and all kinds of other things where I ended up not getting to bed early. But the last couple of days I've still been living off this high from the weekend that apparently I've been just fine with this lack of sleep. It kind of hit me this afternoon where I kind of hit a wall and was like, okay, I've finally come down from this weekend high and now I need sleep. But it's all so worth it. Like, I will sacrifice my sleep and getting home super late at night and having to work the next day. Like, I will do that 100 times if it means I can keep living this dream and racing at different tracks. So, if you're still here, thank you. Thanks for listening. Brainerd was an awesome experience, awesome track. I'm super excited to go back. This upcoming weekend, I will be at a track day at Motorsport Park Hastings with Track Addicts. So between now and then, I've only got a couple of days, but I got to do fork seals on my bike and get everything packed up and loaded up again. So it's just kind of been nonstop, but again, it's kind of a phenomenal experience where it's just like I'm go, 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 go. And just really thankful that I have the ability to go all the time and that I'm able to, that like even this opportunity is here in front of me where I have all these options of where I can race and where I can ride, and a track that's only 2 hours away from me that does practices once a month and those kind of things. So anyways, thanks for joining me this episode. I think a lot of my listeners recently have all been Track Addicts people. So if you're at Motorsport Park Hastings this weekend, I will see you there. Otherwise, we will catch you in the next episode. Bye, guys.